What if I told you that the biggest thing destroying your peace right now is something you're allowing? Not your enemies, not your problems, not your past. Stay with me, because once you see this, you won't be able to unsee it. Right now, think about the last time something ruined your mood. Was it something big? Or was it something small that you made big? Someone didn't reply to your message. Someone spoke to you with disrespect. Something didn't go your way. And just like that, your peace was gone. Not because the situation was powerful, but because your reaction was weak. That's the part nobody wants to hear. You think your peace is being attacked from the outside. But the truth is, you're giving permission for it to be destroyed. Every time you overthink, every time you replay what someone said, every time you let anger sit inside you, you're handing over control. And the worst part? You don't even realize you're doing it. Let me tell you something straight. The world is not going to become softer for you. People are not going to suddenly understand you. Life is not going to slow down just so you can feel comfortable. So if you're waiting for peace to come from outside, you're going to wait forever. Peace doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. That means learning to stay calm when everything in you wants to react. That means holding your ground when emotions try to take over. That means looking at chaos and refusing to let it inside your mind. Because once it gets in, it spreads. One negative thought becomes 10. 10 becomes anxiety. Anxiety becomes loss of control. And now, you're no longer thinking clearly. You're reacting. You're spiraling. That's how most people live. But not you. Not anymore. Because today, you're going to start seeing things differently. You're going to realize that not everything deserves your attention. Not everything deserves your reaction. And definitely not everything deserves your peace. You have to become selective. Selective with your thoughts. Selective with your energy. Selective with what you allow to affect you. Because your mind is like a gate. And right now, you've been leaving that gate wide open. Letting in opinions. Letting in negativity. Letting in things that don't even matter. And then you wonder why you feel overwhelmed. Close the gate. Not everything gets access to you. Not everyone deserves a reaction from you. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to stay silent, to observe, to remain in control while others lose theirs. Because real power is not loud. It's not emotional. It's not reactive. Real power is calm. It's discipline. It's the ability to stand in the middle of pressure and not break. And once you master that, nothing and no one will ever shake your peace again. Every day something tests you. People disrespect you. Plans fall apart. Life throws chaos in your face. And most people, they react. They panic. They lose control. But there's a different kind of person. The one who stays calm while everything burns. The one who cannot be shaken. Staying calm when everything is going well? That's easy. Anyone can do that. The real test is when life hits you unexpectedly. When plans collapse. When people betray you. When everything you thought was stable suddenly isn't. That's where most people fall apart. They panic. They react emotionally. They lose control of themselves. And in that moment, they don't just lose their situation, they lose their power. Because power was never about controlling what happens to you. It was always about controlling how you respond. And that's where the difference is made. There are two types of people in this world. The first type reacts to everything. They let their emotions decide their actions. They get angry quickly. They get frustrated easily. They take everything personally. Their mood depends on the outside world. So when life is good, they feel good. When life is bad, they fall apart. That's instability. That's weakness. But then, there's the second type. The one who observes instead of reacting. The one who thinks before acting. The one who stays grounded no matter what's happening around them. This person doesn't get easily shaken. Not because life is easier for them, but because their mind is stronger. They understand something most people don't. Not everything is worth your energy. Read that again. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every problem deserves your reaction. Not every person deserves access to your emotions. But most people, they give their energy away for free. They argue over pointless things. They stress over things they can't control. They carry anger long after the moment has passed. And slowly, they drain themselves. That's why they feel tired. That's why they feel overwhelmed. That's why they feel like they're losing control. Because they are. Every reaction you don't control controls you. Every emotion you don't master masters you. And the more this happens, the weaker your mind becomes. But here's the shift. You don't need to control everything around you. You only need to control one thing: yourself. Your thoughts, your reactions, your focus. Because once you take control of those three, everything changes. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop giving power to things that don't matter. You stop letting small situations ruin your entire day. Instead, you become steady. You become focused. You become dangerous in the best way possible. Because now, nothing can easily shake you. And when people see that, they notice. They feel it. Because calmness under pressure is rare. And rare is powerful. Before we go deeper, if you're serious about building a strong, disciplined, unbreakable mind, then consider subscribing to this channel. Because this isn't motivation. This is transformation. Peace is not something you find. Peace is something you protect. Most people think peace comes when life is easy. No problems, no stress, no conflict. That's a lie, because life will always test you. Peace is built in chaos, not in comfort. So now that you understand that peace isn't something you find, but something you protect, let me ask you something. Who have you been giving access to your mind? Think about it carefully, because this is where everything starts to get uncomfortable. You say you want peace, but you entertain chaos. You say you want discipline, but you feed distractions. You say you want control, but you react to everything. That doesn't make sense. And deep down, you know it. Let's get brutally honest. Most of the things disturbing your peace right now don't even deserve your attention, but you magnify them. You sit there, replaying conversations that already ended, overthinking situations that don't matter, creating problems that don't even exist yet. Why? Because your mind is undisciplined, and an undisciplined mind is a dangerous place to live. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Your mind doesn't need more motivation. It needs more control, because motivation fades. But discipline, that's what keeps you steady when everything else is falling apart. Now let's go deeper. There's something you're doing right now that's silently destroying your peace, and you don't even notice it. It's subtle, it's automatic, and it's constant. You're reacting without thinking. Someone says something you don't like. You feel it instantly. Your mood shifts. Your energy drops. Your mind starts racing. And just like that, you've lost control. Not because they're powerful, but because you are reactive. Let that sink in. Your reactions are your weakness, and the world knows it. That's why people push your buttons. That's why situations test you. That's why life keeps throwing pressure at you. Because until you learn control, you will always be controlled. But here's where it gets interesting. What if you stopped reacting? What if you didn't respond immediately? What if you paused? What if you observed instead of exploding? Everything would change. Imagine this. Someone disrespects you. Instead of reacting, you stay calm. Not fake calm. Real, controlled, grounded calm. Now they're confused. Because they expected a reaction. They expected emotion. They expected to control your state. But you gave them nothing. That's power. Most people think power is loud. It's not. Power is silent. Power is the ability to feel everything and still choose control. But you're not there yet. And that's okay. Because now you're becoming aware. And awareness, that's where transformation begins. Let's expose another truth. You are addicted to stimulation, constant noise, constant scrolling, constant distraction. You can't sit still. You can't be alone with your thoughts. You can't just exist without needing something to entertain you. And that's a problem. Because if you can't control your attention, you can't control your mind. Think about it. How many times have you picked up your phone today without even thinking? How many times have you checked something that didn't matter? How many times have you allowed your focus to be broken? Exactly. And every time that happens, your discipline weakens. A distracted mind is an unstable mind, and an unstable mind cannot hold peace. So now the question becomes, are you willing to do what most people won't? Because building an unbreakable mind is not comfortable. It requires sacrifice. You're going to have to let go of things. Let go of constant validation. Let go of reacting to everything. Let go of needing to prove yourself to people who don't matter. And that's hard, because your ego will fight you. It will tell you to respond, to argue, to defend yourself. But every time you give in, you lose. Control is not about winning arguments. It's about mastering yourself. Let's go even deeper. There's a reason why silence feels uncomfortable to you. Because in silence, you hear your thoughts clearly. And most people, they don't like what they hear. They hear doubt. They hear insecurity. They hear fear. So what do? They run from it. They distract themselves. They fill every moment with noise. They avoid facing themselves. But here's the truth. You can't build peace if you're afraid of your own mind. You have to sit with it. You have to face it. You have to understand it. Because once you do, you realize something powerful. Your thoughts are not you. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to act on it. That realization alone changes everything. Because now you create distance. Distance between you and your emotions. Distance between you and your reactions. Distance between you and chaos. And in that distance, you find control. Let's make this practical. Next time something triggers you, pause. Don't speak immediately. Don't react instantly. Just observe. What are you feeling? Why are you feeling it? Is it worth your energy? Most of the time, it's not. But you've trained yourself to react anyway. And now, you're going to retrain yourself to stay in control. This is where discipline comes in. Not motivation. Not inspiration. Discipline. Because there will be moments when everything inside you wants to explode. And in those moments, you either stay in control or you lose everything you've been building. This is the difference between weak minds and strong minds. Weak minds react. Strong minds respond. And that difference changes your entire life. Because when you stop reacting emotionally, people lose control over you. Situations lose power over you. Even your own thoughts lose their grip on you. Now you're not being dragged through life. Now you're walking through it with control. But let me warn you, this path is lonely. Because once you stop reacting like everyone else, you start thinking differently. You start moving differently. You start seeing things others don't. You realize how emotional people are, how reactive they are, how easily controlled they are. And you won't fit in the same way anymore. But that's the price of strength. You can either be understood by everyone or controlled by no one. You don't get both. So choose carefully. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about being perfect. This isn't about never feeling emotions. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming stable, feeling everything, but being controlled by nothing. And once you reach that level, everything changes. Stress doesn't break you. Pressure doesn't shake you. People don't control you. Because now, you've built something rare, an unbreakable mind. And once your mind becomes unbreakable, your peace becomes untouchable. You give people too much power. Someone ignores you, it ruins your mood. Someone criticizes you, it lives in your head all day. Why? Because you've made their opinion your reality. You react instead of control. Your emotions control you. Instead of thinking, you explode. And every reaction weakens your peace. You're addicted to validation. You want approval. You want recognition. But the moment your worth depends on others, you lose control of your mind. This part matters more than you think. You react instead of control, not because you're weak, but because you were never taught how to pause. No one ever told you that silence is strength. No one ever showed you that not reacting is a form of power. So you grew up believing that every emotion needs expression, that every feeling needs action, that every situation deserves a response. But that belief has been costing you your peace. And I get it, because I've been there too. That moment when your chest tightens, your thoughts start racing, your mind fills with things you wish you didn't feel. Anger, frustration, disappointment, and before you even realize it, you react. You say something you didn't mean. You do something you regret. You let a temporary emotion create a permanent consequence. And afterward, silence. Not the powerful kind, the heavy kind, the kind where you sit alone thinking, why did I react like that? Why couldn't I just stay calm? Why do I keep doing this? That's the moment most people ignore. But that's the moment that changes everything. Because in that moment, you're aware. And awareness is uncomfortable. It forces you to see yourself clearly. No excuses, no distractions, just truth. So let's face that truth together. You're not out of control because life is hard. You're out of control because your reactions are automatic. And anything automatic can be retrained. But here's where it gets real. Retraining your mind isn't easy, because you're not just fighting situations, you're fighting habits. Years of reacting instantly, years of letting emotions take over, years of giving away your power without even noticing. And habits don't disappear overnight. They resist, they push back, they try to pull you into your old patterns. You'll feel it, that urge to respond immediately, that pressure to defend yourself, that need to prove something. It will be strong, almost overwhelming. But this is where the shift happens. This is where you decide. Are you going to stay the same, or are you going to take control? Because every moment of reaction is an opportunity to pause, to breathe, to choose differently. Let me give you something practical. Next time you feel triggered, and you will, I don't want you to act immediately. I want you to do one simple thing. Pause, just for a few seconds. That's it. In those few seconds, you create space. And in that space, you take back control. Because reactions happen instantly, but control lives in the pause. And at first, it will feel unnatural. You'll feel like you're holding something back, like you're suppressing yourself. But you're not. You're strengthening yourself. There's a difference. Suppression is avoiding emotion. Control is mastering it. You're not ignoring what you feel. You're choosing how you respond to it. And that choice, that's where your power lives. Let's connect this to your real life. Think about someone who frustrates you. There's always that one person. They say things that irritate you. They act in ways that get under your skin. And every time you deal with them, you feel your control slipping. Now imagine this. They say the same thing. They act the same way. But this time, you don't react. You stay calm. You stay composed. You don't give them the response they expect. What happens? They lose their influence over you, because their power was never in what they said. It was in how you reacted. And once you remove that reaction, they have nothing left to control. That's freedom. Real freedom. Not controlling people. Not controlling situations. But controlling yourself. And I want you to understand something deeply. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove yourself to everyone. You don't need to respond to everything. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is nothing. Not out of weakness, but out of discipline. Because when you're truly in control, you don't feel the need to react to everything. You don't feel the need to defend every point. You don't feel the need to explain yourself to people who don't understand you. You become still, grounded, unshaken. And that energy, people feel it. Even if they don't understand it, they notice that you're different, that you don't get pulled into drama, that you don't lose control easily, that you don't react the way others do. And that's when respect starts to grow. not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through control. But more importantly, you start respecting yourself. Because now, you're no longer a slave to your emotions. You're no longer reacting without thinking. You're no longer losing your peace over things that don't matter. You're in control. And that feeling is powerful. Because once you experience it, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back to overreacting, to overthinking, to giving away your energy so easily. You start protecting your peace. Not just sometimes, but every single day. And slowly, that control becomes part of you. It becomes how you think, how you move, how you respond to life. And that's when everything changes. Because now, you're not just reacting to life, you're mastering it. And once you reach that level, nothing and no one can take that away from you. Here's where everything changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, why am I reacting like this? That's power. Because now, you're in control. Control your reactions. Not everything deserves your energy. Silence is power. Calm is dominance. Detach from outcomes. You do the work. You give your best. But you don't beg for results. Because your value is not negotiable. Accept reality fast. Stop resisting what already happened. The faster you accept, the faster you adapt. Train your mind daily. This isn't a one-time decision. It's discipline. Every day you choose peace or chaos. So now you understand the truth. You understand that your peace isn't something you find. It's something you protect. You understand that your reactions have been controlling you, not the other way around. And you're starting to see the shift. That small space between what happens and how you respond. But here's where things get uncomfortable again, because awareness alone is not enough. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer this honestly. How many times have you realized something about yourself and still didn't change? You knew you were overreacting. You knew you were overthinking. You knew you were giving too much energy to things that didn't matter. And yet, you did it again. Why? Because knowing is easy. Execution, that's where most people fail. You can watch videos like this all day. You can understand every concept. You can agree with every word. But when the moment comes, when pressure hits, when emotions rise, when your patience is tested, you go back to your old self. That's the real problem, not ignorance, inconsistency. And this is the gap most people never close. The gap between understanding and becoming. Because becoming requires something most people avoid. Discipline. Not the kind that looks good on the outside. Not the kind you post about, but the quiet discipline. The invisible discipline. The kind that shows up in the exact moment. You feel like losing control and chooses not to. That's the level we're stepping into now. Because up until this point, you've been observing your mind. Now, you're about to train it. And let me warn you before we go further, this is not going to feel comfortable. You're going to feel resistance. You're going to feel the urge to go back to your old habits. You're going to feel like it's easier to just react, to just let your emotions take over, to just do what you've always done. And that's exactly why most people stay the same. Because they choose comfort over control. They choose temporary relief over long-term strength. They choose reacting over mastering. But you're here for something different. You're not here to stay the same person who gets triggered easily. You're not here to keep losing your peace over small things. You're not here to be controlled by emotions that come and go. You're here to become unshakable. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens through repetition, through awareness applied consistently, through choosing discipline over and over again, especially when it's hard. Let's go deeper. Right now, your mind is like a muscle that has been trained the wrong way. You've trained it to react quickly, to assume the worst, to focus on what's out of your control, to hold onto things longer than you should. So when a situation happens, your mind doesn't pause. It follows the pattern it knows. That's why you react instantly. That's why you feel overwhelmed. That's why your peace gets shaken so easily. Because your mind is running on old programming. And here's the truth most people avoid. If you don't train your mind intentionally, it will train itself accidentally. And accidental training leads to a reactive life, chaotic life, an unstable mind. So now the question becomes, are you ready to retrain your mind? Not just understand, not just agree, but actually change. Because this next part, this is where everything becomes practical. No more theory, no more concepts, no more just thinking about it. This is where you start building, step by step, moment by moment, reaction by reaction. Because an unbreakable mind isn't built in one decision. It's built in thousands of small ones. The decision to pause instead of react. The decision to let go instead of hold on. The decision to stay calm instead of lose control. And each one of those decisions strengthens you. But here's the part most people don't realize. At the beginning, it's going to feel like you're fighting yourself. Because you are. You're fighting old habits, old reactions, old patterns that have been repeated for years. And they won't go away quietly. They'll try to pull you back. They'll tell you, just react this one time. It's not that serious. You deserve to respond. Say something back. And if you listen, you reset your progress. But if you resist, even once, you start building control. That's how it begins. Not perfectly, not consistently, but intentionally. And over time, that intention becomes discipline. That discipline becomes habit. That habit becomes identity. You don't just practice control anymore. You become someone who is in control. And that's when everything changes. Because now, situations don't shake you the same way. People don't trigger you the same way. Problems don't overwhelm you the same way. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And now, you're ready. Ready to stop reacting. Ready to stop overthinking. Ready to stop giving your peace away so easily. Ready to build something solid. Something stable. Something unbreakable. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to break this down into simple steps. Not complicated. Not overwhelming. But effective. Steps that will train your mind, strengthen your discipline, and protect your peace, no matter what life throws at you. And if you actually follow them, not just listen but apply, you won't just feel different. You will become different. So pay attention, because this next part is where the transformation begins. Control your reactions, because if you can't control this, nothing else matters. Every situation in your life, every argument, every frustration, every moment of stress begins with one thing, a trigger. Something happens. Someone says something. Something doesn't go your way. Something unexpected hits you. And in that moment, your mind wants to react instantly. No pause, no thinking, just emotion. That's your default. That's your programming. But here's the shift. You are not your first reaction. Your first reaction is habit. Your second action, that's who you are. Let that sink in. So the next time something triggers you, and it will, I want you to do something simple, but powerful. Pause. Not for a long time, just a few seconds. Because in those few seconds, you interrupt the pattern. You stop the automatic reaction. You create space. You take back control. And in that space, you ask yourself one question. Does this deserve my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. But you've been conditioned to react anyway, to speak immediately, to defend yourself instantly, to match energy with energy. That's weakness, because anyone can react. Anyone can lose control. Anyone can let emotions take over. But control, that's rare. Control is staying calm. When everything inside you wants to explode, control is staying silent. When you have the perfect comeback, control is walking away. When your ego wants to fight, that's strength. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about being passive. This isn't about letting people walk over you. It's about choosing your response, instead of being controlled by your reaction. There's a difference. A reactive person is predictable. You press a button, they respond. You say something, they react. You create pressure, they break. But a controlled person? Unpredictable. You don't know how they'll respond. Because they don't respond emotionally. They respond intentionally. And that makes them powerful. Let's make this real. Imagine someone disrespects you. Your old self? Instant reaction. Anger. Words. Escalation. Now the situation grows. More tension. More emotion. More chaos. And at the end of it, nothing gained. Peace lost. Now imagine the new you. Same situation. Same disrespect. But this time, you pause. You feel the emotion. But you don't let it control you. You observe it. You acknowledge it. But you don't act on it immediately. Now you have options. You can respond calmly. You can address it with clarity. Or you can walk away completely. But whatever you choose is controlled. That's the difference. You're no longer reacting. You're deciding. And that decision, that's where your power lives. Now here's the truth most people don't want to accept. Every time you react emotionally, you give your power away. You let someone else control your state, your mood, your mind. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes for the world to shake you. But every time you pause, every time you choose control, every time you refuse to react impulsively, you take that power back. And slowly, you become harder to shake. This is how it starts. Not with something big, but with small moments. Comment you ignore. A situation you don't overreact to. A moment where you choose silence over chaos. And each time you do that, you're building something. Discipline. Because discipline isn't built in comfort. It's built in resistance. It's built in the moment. You want to react, but don't. And the more you practice this, the stronger you become, until one day, what used to trigger you doesn't even affect you anymore. That's when you know you're changing. Because now, you're not controlled by emotions. You're guided by awareness. Now here's where everything comes together, because up until this point, you've been learning how to control your reactions, how to protect your peace, how to think differently. But this final shift, this is where you stop trying and start becoming. Let me ask you something. What happens when you face pressure now? Not in theory, not when it's easy, but when it's real, when life hits hard, when emotions rise, when everything inside you wants to go back to your old self. That's the moment that defines you, not your intentions, not your knowledge, your actions. Because at the end of the day, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. So if your habits are weak, you break. If your habits are strong, you stand. And this is the shift. You stop relying on motivation, and you start relying on identity. You're not someone trying to stay calm. You are someone who is calm. You're not someone trying to be disciplined. You are someone who is disciplined. That difference changes everything. Because when it becomes your identity, there's no debate. There's no hesitation. There's no internal struggle. You don't ask, should I react? You already know you won't. You don't ask, should I stay calm? That's who you are. And once you reach that level, life stops feeling chaotic. Not because problems disappear, but because you're no longer unstable. You become grounded, centered, unshaken. And here's the part most people don't realize. When you master yourself, you don't just gain peace. You gain clarity. You start seeing situations for what they really are. Not through emotion, not through ego, but through logic. You stop overcomplicating things. You stop taking everything personally. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. Because your mind is no longer clouded. And with that clarity comes power. The power to walk away. The power to stay silent. The power to act only when necessary. You become precise, intentional, focused, and people will notice. They won't always understand it, but they'll feel it. They'll see that you don't react like everyone else. They'll see that you don't get easily shaken. They'll see that you move with control. And that commands respect. Not the kind you ask for, the kind you earn. But more importantly, you respect yourself. Because now, you trust yourself. You trust that no matter what happens, you won't lose control. You won't fall apart. You won't betray your own discipline. And that trust is unbreakable. So now, you're not just someone chasing peace. You are someone who embodies it. Calm in chaos, still in pressure, focused in distraction. And once you reach that level, there's nothing the world can throw at you that you can't handle, because your strength is internal, and internal strength cannot be taken away. So remember this: life will test you, people will challenge you, situations will push you to your limits. That will never stop. But what can stop is you losing control. What can stop is you reacting to everything. What can stop is you giving your peace away so easily. Because now, you know better. Now you understand that your mind is your responsibility. And if you can control your mind, you can control your life. So the next time something tries to shake you, pause, breathe. Remember who you are becoming. Not weak, not reactive, not controlled, but disciplined, focused, unbreakable. And if this message woke something up in you, if you're ready to build a mind that cannot be shaken, then consider subscribing to this channel. Because this is just the beginning. Stay focused, stay disciplined, and never let anything shake your peace.